Yeah, so we just talked about like how to build this simple landing table, and after that we have talked about like how to populate data to that particular table. Yeah. Then the next step is going to be what we have started of creation of a staging table, which will be created based on what base object table. Yeah. So that is what was done so far. Yeah. Now the next step is going to be what hub operation, like the one which I was trying to talk, which is going to be what mapping. Yeah. So within that we can start building what data cleansing activities. Yeah. So that's what we are going to look at now. Yeah. Let us go to what mappings tool, where we can start building a mapping between what landing and staging. Yeah. So pharma, let us say LND pharma 1, right? Between what based on pharma 1 source system, right? So let us supply pharma 1 mapping, and then here we can supply the landing table name and then followed by staging table. And now the secure resource starts from here, which means what? Because this is happening within the MDM hub, right? So we need to protect this particular mapping. To do that, we use what this secure resource. Yeah, which means if it is enabled means from outside people could able to access this mapping. That's all. And then say what? Okay. Yeah. So this is what we do to create what a empty mapping. Yeah. Now can you see here? This is not a mapping name. This is based on what? Staging table. But if you want the mapping name, can you see bottom here? We can select sort, and we can also select by mapping whatever, right? Can you see here? Now you could able to see mapping names. Yeah? So this is a mapping that we just created, right? View by mapping, view by landing, view by staging. So now we can see based on what? Landing. So this landing or any landing table. So we created what? This landing table, right? And corresponding mapping where we have not done anything. Yeah. And we can also view it based on what? Staging. We can also view it based on mapping, which means what? We could able to see mapping names and like LND, STG, whatever, right? Pharma 1 or whatever mapping name that we gave. This is a mapping name we gave, right? So because we have not done anything, just now only we created that. Plus in the middle, we can also look at what one item, one mapping. Can you see here? Here we can see what? Drop down with n number of mappings in it. Yeah. So if you want to look at only one, let's say LND pharma 1, then we can see only one. So we can't see what? Other mappings over here. Similarly, if there are multiple mappings without any filter, right? So let us say we don't use what? No filter. So you'll get all. Now if we have that, then the next step is going to be what? We can sort based on mapping, which is alphabetical. Sort by what you call A to G or reverse or whatever. So this is what we do in order to be what you call arrange this mapping pane. That's it. Now once we are done with that, we can expand this where we can see landing and staging table. In a staging table we have what? N number of columns, which are what? System defined columns, like we have peak resource object, row ID object, and so on, right? Except C1, C2, C3, all the columns are what? System defined columns. That's it. Yeah. So that's what we can see over here. Yeah. Once we do that, now let us try to build the connectivity between these two tables, which is what? Landing and staging. Yeah. So let us start doing that. For that, we can right click on this mapping pane and say what? Auto mapping, which means auto mapping works. It's similar to other tools also. Other tools also you guys would have used. Auto means what? If the column names are similar from one table and mapping table, right? Then it would get mapped automatically. Or else how does it know that which column need to be mapped to what, right? So in case if you have dissimilar columns, then we need to explicitly what? Map it. After that, get it saved. Yeah. So this is what we need to do in order to build a simple straight through mapping. Once we are done with that, next step is going to be what? We need to know like how to execute this particular mapping. So we need to call back the architecture of what? MDM hub. Can you see here? Now this using this particular role, we are going to execute that. So when you execute a stage job, because we are trying to perform data cleansing, right? It expects this particular cleanse server which should be up and running. So how to make sure that? To do that, there is a cleanse mass server where we need to make sure that this server has been configured. So we can click on edit button where we can see what? All the details of client server. For example, host name, port number, we need to enable client server. And this particular client server can be used either in online only or batch only or both. So that's what we could able to see over here. After that, say what? Okay. Then get it saved. Clear, right? So this is what we do in order to what? Configure this client server. Clear? So once we are done with this, which means what? Configuration of client server. Next step is what? We need to know how to make use of this client server to execute a stage job. So for that, get into batch viewer. Here also we can filter a group by based on the date or ascending, or we can also what descending or whatever. Can you see here? One item, some items or whatever. Yeah? If you want to look at only based on what? Procedures, you can also do that. Yeah. So here we have what different types of procedures, like we have stage based, and we also have what? Base object table based. Yeah. Now let us try to select this what is called staging table. Within that we have what? Stage section followed by mapping. So here you could able to see the mapping which can be executed. Yeah? Let us try to run this now. Can you see here? Whenever you run any job within this MDM, right? Internally it is going to make use of what? Stored procedure, which means what? Any job that we invoke, it uses what? Internal predefined stored procedure. For example, if you want to execute a stage job, then we use what? Start cleanse, which is a fixed stored procedure, which is available as part of CMXCL package. Yeah. Now let us try to execute this. Yeah. So we need to wait for some time. So we need to wait for some time. Yeah, now this guy got fail. If you look at this particular status, right, cross mark indicates fail. Yeah. So we can look at reason why this particular what stage job got failed. To answer that, can you see here? Now let us look at the current status. So this guy is making use of this client server, which is, let us say, host name, port number plans, and this guy, it is expecting column is not nullable in the staging table. So it expects what? Column has to be not nullable. Which column? Peak is source. So that we need to make sure. So but not map, which means for this particular column there is no mapping happen within the user defined mapping. So we can use one column to get it mapped to peak is source, or we can also build any data cleansing functionality, then output of that also can be mapped to what? Peak is source object. Yeah? So this is what we need to do in order to build what? A basic mapping, and then now save it. Clear, right? So that's all we do. Create what? A simple mapping. Once we are done with that, next step is going to be what? We need to start getting into the batch viewer and re-execute this particular job, right? Let's start doing that. Yeah. So let us try to refresh this. So it's under executing status, right? You can refresh this. Can you see here? Not executing, it's over. You can see the symbol, which is a warning symbol. Yeah? Now, first let us start with what from the top. On this particular data and time, this guy got executed, and this is a mapping. This is a source system, and then source table is what? This staging table. Yeah? So that is what we can see here. Now, once we see that, next is what? Current status. So this guy, which is stage job, is going to make use of client server, which got completed with what? 2 rejected records. Yeah. And if you want to see why the records have been rejected, you can click on what? View rejects button, where we can see what? Error description, which indicates what? Duplicate landing records. So that is why these what records have been rejected. So why duplicacy? Because if you go and look at the mapping, so we connected C1 column to peak is source object. So if you have duplicate data or null data, then the records would get rejected. Yeah? So that is why what two records have got rejected over here. Yeah? So once we understand this, then we can see the data. What is the data? Why it got rejected? Can you see here? 1111. So it's repeated 2 times. So there is a duplicacy. Yeah? That is why. So there is one more record which is with what 111. So that will be unique. Rest will be what? Duplicate records. So that's why these 2 records have been rejected. Yeah? That's it. And then other columns are C2, C3, right? Whichever record that got rejected based on C1 column, right? So we are going to get other column data here, and then we can think of other columns, like we have what row ID job. I repeat, we have what row ID job, which will be used to identify uniqueness of each job. Right? I repeat, row ID job will be used to identify uniqueness of each job. Yeah? So of each job run, for example, here we have what same job ID, right? Next time when you run, job ID differs. Yeah?